The 2025 Formula One season has given us a story that feels ripped straight out of racing folklore. McLaren, once starved of glory, has found itself in a position of ultimate power, leading the Drivers' Championship with not one, but two contenders from within their own garage. Oscar Piastri versus Lando Norris, two young lions, both hungry for their very first World Championship, both refusing to back down. And now, with just 9 points separating them, this rivalry is on the verge of boiling over. But beneath the glamour of podium celebrations lies a dangerous truth. Strategy calls, split-second decisions, and even subtle radio messages are feeding the fire between these teammates. David Coulthard has already sounded the alarm, warning McLaren that what we're witnessing is not simply a battle between colleagues, but a war between rivals, where one's triumph will always mean the other's despair. If you want to understand the hidden power struggle inside McLaren and why this could reshape Formula One history, make sure you subscribe now, because this is a story you do not want to miss. At first glance, McLaren's situation in 2025 looks like the dream scenario every team principal craves. They have built the fastest car on the grid. They are finally challenging for both championships, and they have two young, electrifying drivers who represent the future of Formula One. But behind that glossy surface lies a dangerous truth. Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris are no longer just teammates. They are championship rivals. And that rivalry, if left unchecked, could ignite into a full-blown civil war that risks destroying McLaren's most successful season in decades. Oscar Piastri entered the year with a quiet but ruthless determination. The Australian has always been cool under pressure, a driver who rarely shows emotion, but whose speed and consistency made him a natural title contender. Early in the season, it looked like the championship might be his to lose. But in the last 4 races, Lando Norris has launched a counter-attack, winning 3 and cutting Piastri's lead down to just 9 points. This is no longer about one driver carrying the team. This is a duel of equals, and when equals collide, sparks fly. The Hungarian Grand Prix was the perfect example of how fragile this relationship has become. McLaren rolled the dice on strategy, a gamble that ultimately handed victory to Norris. But for Piastri, it felt like betrayal. As he prepared for his final pit stop, his engineer asked him whether he wanted to shut down Charles Leclerc's slim hopes of victory or focus solely on beating Norris. His reply was brutally honest. "I don't really care about Leclerc, I just want the best chance to try and beat Lando." That single radio message revealed the reality. For Piastri, the only enemy is sitting across the garage in papaya colours. It's no surprise then that David Coulthard sounded the alarm, warning McLaren that this rivalry could soon boil over. He reminded us of a simple truth. Teammates are not really mates. They are each other's greatest rivals. One success always comes at the expense of the other. And that dynamic is toxic when a world championship is on the line. Formula One history has taught us that these situations rarely end peacefully. Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna destroyed each other inside McLaren. Nelson Piquet and Nigel Mansell tore Williams apart. Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton split Mercedes in 2. Every single time, the cost was immense fractured relationships, bitter controversies, and, in some cases, championships lost. For McLaren, the warning signs are already flashing. The Canadian Grand Prix saw Norris collide with Piastri, costing him his only retirement of the season. In Hungary, Piastri nearly took both cars out with a desperate late lunge. McLaren insists it is letting its drivers race freely under the so-called papaya rules, basically a gentleman's agreement not to crash into each other. But history shows us that when the stakes are this high, such rules eventually crumble, because in the heat of battle, no driver wants to be second best. Zak Brown, ever the politician, has tried to position McLaren as the calm voice of reason. He insists both drivers will be given equal opportunities, no hidden team orders, no bias. He even revealed the team will sit down with both men before the second half of the season, asking them how they want McLaren to act when one of them wins and the other loses. On paper, this sounds like a clever way to diffuse tension. In reality, it's a sign of just how dangerous this situation has become. Brown knows one of his drivers will walk away devastated at the end of the year, and how McLaren manages that moment could decide the team's future. But here's the dilemma. Neutrality is a fantasy in Formula One. Every strategy call, every pit stop, every tiny decision can swing momentum towards one driver and away from the other. Just ask Piastri how neutral Hungary felt. To him, it was the moment McLaren tipped the scales towards Norris. And for Norris, who has waited years for a title-worthy car, there will be no appetite to play second fiddle. He knows this could be his one shot, and that's exactly what makes the situation so combustible. If the rivalry between Norris and Piastri spirals into reckless fighting, McLaren risks losing everything. Imagine another Canada-style collision, only this time with both cars out. Not only would the constructors' title slip away, but McLaren could hand the driver's crown to a rival like Mercedes or Red Bull without even realising it. The psychology of the battle is just as fascinating as the strategy. Norris is emotional, expressive, and desperate to prove himself after years of near misses. Piastri is icy, calculated, and unwilling to compromise. Both are young, both are ambitious, and both know that opportunities like this may never come again. Coulthard's words ring true. Next year's McLaren might not be good enough. With new regulations looming, 2025 could be the one chance for either Norris or Piastri to etch their name into the history books. That thought alone makes compromise impossible. So what happens next? McLaren can attempt to keep the peace with meetings, agreements, and carefully balanced strategies. But if history tells us anything, peace won't last. Sooner or later, Norris and Piastri will collide, maybe on track, maybe off it. And when they do, the fallout will be seismic. Piastri could begin to doubt McLaren's loyalty, opening the door for other teams to lure him away. Norris could resent any perception of favouritism toward his younger teammate, fracturing his bond with the team that made him a star. And if either driver feels betrayed, McLaren's golden era could unravel before it has even begun. For now, the team continues to project calm. Piastri insists the rules of engagement remain unchanged. Norris says he's fully focused on execution. Both drivers talk about respect and teamwork, but listen carefully, and you can hear the tension beneath the surface. Each knows that respect has limits when a world championship is on the line. Each knows that being runner-up to your teammate is the ultimate humiliation. So here's the question. Can McLaren truly keep control of this firestorm, or are we about to witness the next great civil war in Formula One? Because if Piastri and Norris collide again literally or figuratively, the consequences could be catastrophic. Who do you think will emerge as McLaren's true number one, Oscar Piastri or Lando Norris?